That all you got, old man?" The young martial artist sneered, sweat flying as he danced around the ring, taunting the legend before him. But Stallone didn't flinch. He just stepped forward, calm, silent, coiled with purpose. One sharp jab cut the crowd into stunned silence, and the kid's bravado drained from his face. What followed wasn't just a fight. It was a lesson. Welcome to Stallone Unleashed. Let's uncover what really happened. The packed arena buzzed with excitement as fans from all over gathered to witness a highly anticipated martial arts exhibition. The spotlight fell on a young Chinese martial artist, known for his flashy style and outspoken confidence. Wearing his traditional gi emblazoned with vibrant red and gold, he paced the ring with a swagger that drew cheers and jeers alike. Cameras zoomed in as he raised his arms and declared loudly that no legend from the West could match his skills, openly mocking any challenger who dared face him. From the sidelines, a figure watched quietly: Sylvester Stallone, the Hollywood icon whose roles in boxing and action films had earned him worldwide respect. Stallone's presence was subtle but commanding. Dressed simply in a dark jacket and jeans, he radiated a calm confidence that seemed at odds with the fiery energy in the ring. Few in the crowd seemed to notice him at first, caught up in the martial artist's showmanship. The young fighter's taunts grew bolder, his voice cutting through the roar of the crowd. "Where's your champion? No one here can stand against me. I challenge any boxer or martial artist to step forward and prove themselves." His eyes scanned the audience, daring someone to accept. Whispers began to spread as Stallone rose from his seat, his gaze never leaving the ring. The crowd's energy shifted as realization dawned on them. The legend was not just watching. He was preparing to respond. The martial artist, oblivious to who stood before him, laughed and sneered, waving off the silent figure. But Stallone moved with quiet purpose, each step measured and deliberate. The arena fell into a hush as he approached the ring, shedding the calm facade to reveal the undeniable presence of a man shaped by decades of real combat and discipline. The challenge had been made, and the world was about to witness a confrontation neither expected but everyone would remember. This was no longer just a show of bravado. It was a clash of legacies, a test of true skill beyond words and empty insults. The bold challenge had been issued, and now it was time to answer. The atmosphere inside the arena shifted palpably as Sylvester Stallone stepped fully into view. The bright lights gleamed off his weathered face, marked by years of grit and perseverance. His eyes, sharp and steady, scanned the crowd briefly before settling on the young martial artist who had been mocking him moments earlier. There was no flashy entrance, no music blaring, just a calm confidence that silenced the room in an instant. Stallone's movements were deliberate and unhurried. He walked with the ease of a man who had faced countless battles, both on screen and in real life. The crowd's murmurs swelled into whispers, and then into tentative cheers as the legend made his way to the ring's edge. Cameras captured every step, every subtle gesture, the tension building as the young fighter's grin began to falter. The martial artist's earlier bravado was replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. He had underestimated the man standing before him, mistaking Stallone's silence for weakness. But now, seeing the unmistakable presence of a true warrior, the spark of arrogance wavered. Stallone's reputation was no secret. His iconic roles as Rocky Balboa and John Rambo had immortalized him in the world of boxing and combat. Yet tonight, it wasn't his Hollywood fame that commanded respect. It was the unspoken aura of a man who knew what it meant to fight. As Stallone reached the ring, the young martial artist's posture stiffened. He glanced sideways, calculating, searching for an edge. Stallone's voice broke the silence with quiet authority. "You're putting on a good show, but let's see if your skill matches your words." The crowd erupted with a mix of cheers and gasps. This was more than entertainment. It was a real challenge issued in the spotlight of thousands of eyes. Stallone's arrival was not just a moment of surprise. It was the beginning of a reckoning. The legend had come not to talk, but to prove that true strength was earned through discipline and experience, not empty boasts. With that, the stage was set. The world waited, breath held, for the next move in this unfolding drama between youth's arrogance and veterans' mastery. The air between the two fighters crackled with tension as they faced each other in the center of the ring. The young martial artist's chest puffed out, his eyes blazing with a mixture of defiance and excitement. He had come here to dominate, to prove that his flashy style and sharp tongue were enough to silence any doubters. But across from him stood Stallone, the very embodiment of hard-earned pride, a man whose battles have been fought in sweat, blood, and years of relentless training. Their gazes locked, and a silent conversation passed between them, a challenge, a test of wills. Neither needed to speak. Their pride filled the space, louder than any words. The martial artist sneered, stepping forward with a quick flourish of his hands, as if to intimidate. Stallone held his ground, calm and unshaken, his posture steady but ready. Around them, the crowd buzzed, caught between awe and anticipation. Some cheered for the young fighter's bravado, eager for the spectacle. Others sensed something deeper in Stallone's quiet confidence, a legacy that couldn't be mocked or dismissed. The clash wasn't just physical, it was a battle of values, raw youthful arrogance against seasoned humility. The martial artist launched the first move, a rapid series of punches and kicks, designed to overwhelm and impress. Stallone absorbed the flurry with practiced ease, his eyes sharp, reading every motion. Each strike was met not with equal force, but with precise counters, subtle shifts in stance, and fluid defenses that spoke of decades in the ring. With every exchange, the young fighter's confidence wavered. His strikes, once wild and confident, grew hurried and desperate. Stallone's pride was not in showmanship or noise. It was in mastery. This wasn't a fight of spectacle, but of skill honed over a lifetime. As the crowd held its breath, it became clear this was more than a match. It was a reckoning where pride met discipline and where true strength would be revealed not through bluster, but through quiet, unyielding control. The young martial artist's eyes flashed with renewed fire as he stumbled back slightly from Stallone's precise counters. Frustration crept into his expression, mingling with the sting of unexpected resistance. Determined not to lose face, he raised his voice, loud enough for the entire arena to hear. "Is that all you've got? I've seen better moves in a training video." Laughter rippled through parts of the crowd, some jeering, others uneasy at the rising tension. The martial artist's insult was a calculated move, an attempt to rattle Stallone, to undermine the legend's calm demeanor and make him lose focus. He circled aggressively, throwing quick glances at Stallone, daring him to respond. Stallone's eyes narrowed slightly, but his expression remained composed. He didn't answer with words. Instead, he let the insult hang in the air, unchallenged by speech but answered with action. The arena seemed to hold its breath, sensing the weight behind Stallone's silence. This was a man who knew the power of restraint. The young fighter pressed forward, throwing a rapid combination of punches, each aimed with less precision but more aggression. His voice carried over the noise as he taunted, "You talk a big game for someone your age. Maybe it's time to prove you're more than just an old actor." The crowd's reaction was mixed, cheers from those rooting for the underdog, uneasy murmurs from those who respected Stallone's legacy. The insult had drawn a line in the sand. Stallone didn't flinch. Instead, he shifted his stance with the grace of a seasoned fighter, eyes locked on his opponent, unwavering. Without a word, Stallone launched a clean counterstrike, a measured jab that caught the young martial artist off guard. The blow wasn't brutal, but it was enough to send a clear message. Respect wasn't given lightly. The first insult had been met not with anger, but with the undeniable proof of skill, a silent rebuke that spoke louder than any words ever could. The energy in the arena surged like a tidal wave as the young martial artist recoiled from Stallone's precise jab. The crowd, once divided between admiration and skepticism, now roared with renewed fervor. Some cheered wildly for the underdog's boldness. Others erupted in approval at the legend's undeniable skill. The atmosphere crackled with electricity, every eye fixed on the unfolding drama in the ring. Fans waved banners and shouted encouragements, their voices blending into a deafening roar. The young fighter, sensing the crowd's mixed emotions, used their energy to fuel his bravado. He bounced on his heels, shouting provocations, throwing out wild punches and spinning kicks designed more to entertain than to land. His cocky grin stretched wide, feeding off the audience's reaction, as if daring Stallone to break his composure. Stallone remained calm, his breathing steady, eyes sharp and unblinking. The cheers and jeers didn't faze him. Instead, they seemed to sharpen his focus. Every movement he made was deliberate and controlled, a stark contrast to the young fighter's flashy but erratic style. He waited for the right moment, letting the crowd's energy rise and fall like waves around him. Suddenly, the martial artist launched into an aggressive flurry, forcing Stallone to respond with swift, measured blocks and counters. The crowd's volume surged again, a mix of gasps and cheers as each exchange played out with intense precision. Some fans leaned forward in their seats, caught between awe and disbelief, while others shouted Stallone's name, rallying behind the seasoned warrior. The crowd wasn't just watching a fight. They were witnessing a battle of generations, a clash of pride and skill that transcended words. Every strike, every movement stirred the audience deeper, pulling them into a shared experience of tension, excitement, and respect. The roar of the crowd was not just noise. It was the heartbeat of the arena, fueling the fight as it moved inexorably toward a moment that no one would soon forget. Amidst the roaring crowd and the frantic energy in the ring, Stallone stood like a quiet island in a storm. His eyes never left the young martial artist, unwavering and sharp, absorbing every motion, every feint, every breath. While the arena buzzed with noise and chaos, Stallone's silence was profound, a steady calm that unsettled even the most confident onlookers. He didn't respond to the taunts or the wild swings. Instead, he watched with the patience of a man who had seen countless fights and understood that true strength often lies in restraint. His body was relaxed but ready, a coiled spring waiting for the perfect moment to act. No theatrics, no flashy moves, just the presence of someone who knew how to control the pace and flow of a battle. The crowd's chants and cheers faded into a low hum around him. Some spectators tried to read his expression, but his face revealed nothing. No hint of fear, no flicker of impatience, only a calm resolve. It was this silent watchfulness that began to turn the tide of the match, slowly shifting the energy away from the young fighter's noisy aggression towards something deeper, more commanding. As the martial artist continued to attack with increasing desperation, Stallone's eyes remained steady, calculating. He wasn't just observing. He was dissecting every move, every weakness, every opening. His years of training and experience spoke louder than any words or taunts ever could. The young fighter's confidence began to waver beneath that quiet gaze, his strikes growing more frantic, less precise. The silence from Stallone was deafening, a reminder that power didn't always shout. Sometimes it simply waited, poised and unshakable. In that moment, the arena sensed a shift. Stallone's silent watch was not just about patience. It was the calm before the storm, the quiet certainty of a legend preparing to remind everyone what true mastery really looked like. Frustration etched across his face. The young martial artist stepped back and wiped sweat from his brow. His earlier confidence had begun to crack under Stallone's unwavering gaze and unyielding defense. Determined to regain control, he raised his voice, louder and sharper than before, cutting through the arena's buzz. "You think standing there like that is enough?" he shouted, circling Stallone with a predatory grin. "I'll show no substance. I've defeated fighters twice your age. What makes you so special? Just another old actor hiding behind fame." The crowd's reaction was immediate, gasps, whispers, and a surge of excitement. Some fans cheered the boldness, while others braced for Stallone's response. The martial artist's taunt was designed to provoke, to ignite a reaction that might rattle the legendary figure. But Stallone remained composed, his eyes locked on the younger man without a flicker of annoyance. He said nothing, letting the insult hang in the charged air like a challenge. The martial artist smirked, misreading the silence for weakness, and pressed forward with a rapid flurry of punches and kicks, each strike more aggressive than the last. Between attacks, he shouted taunts that echoed off the walls. "Is that all? You look tired just standing there. Step up or step aside." His voice carried a mixture of arrogance and desperation, a need to dominate not just the fight, but the narrative. The audience was torn, caught between admiration for the martial artist's audacity and respect for Stallone's calm endurance. The tension grew palpable as the young fighter sought to break the silence with noise, to force Stallone into a mistake. Yet, with every taunt, Stallone's silence spoke louder. It was a quiet confidence that unsettled the martial artist more than any strike could. The moment was a test not just of physical skill, but of mental fortitude, where words became weapons and restraint the sharpest blade. As the martial artist's taunts grew more frantic, the crowd sensed the turning tide. In trying to provoke Stallone, he was only revealing his own cracks, and a legend was waiting patiently to expose them. The arena's tension thickened as the young martial artist unleashed his barrage of insults and strikes, his energy oscillating between fierce aggression and reckless desperation. Yet, through it all, Stallone remained an unshakable pillar of unexpected calm. His breathing was steady, his posture relaxed but alert, as if the chaos swirling around him was nothing more than background noise. The crowd watched in awe, whispers spreading like wildfire. How could this man stay so composed under such relentless provocation? The young fighter's frantic movements and loud taunts only seemed to highlight Stallone's unruffled presence. It was a stark contrast, youthful fire clashing against seasoned steel. With measured steps, Stallone shifted his stance, eyes still locked on his opponent. There was no need to rush, no impulse to match wild energy with wild energy. Instead, he exuded control, an almost serene mastery born of years navigating battles far more grueling than this. Each motion was economical, precise, devoid of unnecessary flourish. It was the calm of a man who had fought not for show, but for survival and respect. This unexpected calm began to erode the young martial artist's confidence. His wild swing slowed as doubt crept into his eyes. The crowd sensed it too, the imbalance growing between brash arrogance and quiet authority. Murmurs swelled into cheers for Stallone, the legend who didn't need to shout to command the arena. The martial artist tried to recover, throwing a few half-hearted jabs, but Stallone's composed defense rendered them ineffective. With effortless grace, Stallone parried and moved fluidly, each response a reminder that true strength was not loud or flashy, but deliberate and grounded. In that charged silence, Stallone's calm spoke volumes. It was a message beyond words or punches, a lesson in patience, discipline, and the power of inner peace amidst the storm. The arena stood witness to a fighter who embodied not just skill, but wisdom. The fight was far from over, but the tide was unmistakably turning. The crowd's energy shifted from roaring excitement to a tense, almost reverent silence. Fans leaned forward in their seats, eyes wide, breaths held collectively as the two fighters circled each other with growing intensity. The usual cacophony of cheers and shouts faded, replaced by the palpable weight of anticipation. Everyone sensed they were witnessing something extraordinary, more than just a fight, but a test of spirit and skill. Phones and cameras were raised high, capturing every calculated movement, every fleeting expression. Faces in the crowd reflected a mixture of awe, disbelief, and hope. Some whispered to neighbors, unsure whether to cheer or remain silent, while others clenched their fists in anticipation of what might come next. The young martial artist, despite his earlier bravado, now moved with less certainty. His eyes darted nervously, scanning Stallone's steady figure as if searching for a weakness that wasn't there. The bravado had given way to tension. The energy that once fueled him now threatened to unravel. Stallone, in contrast, maintained an unyielding calm. His posture was relaxed but ready every muscle coiled like a spring. The years of discipline showed in his unhurried movements, the way he breathed deeply but steadily, never wasting energy. His eyes bore into the younger fighter with quiet confidence, unblinking and unwavering. The crowd felt the electric charge between them, a silent dialogue of challenge and respect. The young fighter's attacks had slowed. Stallone's patience seemed endless. Time stretched as the moment before impact lingered longer than anyone expected. For a brief second, the entire arena existed in suspended animation, unified by the shared breath held tight in collective suspense. This was the calm before the storm, the charged pause that preceded a defining moment. Fans knew that whatever happened next would be etched into their memories, a testament to the enduring power of true mastery over reckless ambition. The young martial artist broke the tense silence with a sharp, mocking laugh, raising his voice to cut through the quiet that had settled over the arena. "You hide behind silence like its strength," he sneered, pacing deliberately around Stallone. "But words have power, and I'm going to make sure everyone here knows you're just an old relic. What do you have left besides your reputation?" The crowd stirred, a mixture of gasps and murmurs rippling through the stands. Some cheered the boldness, others held their breath, sensing that this verbal duel was as critical as any physical strike. The martial artist's taunts were aimed to unsettle, to draw Stallone out of his calm and expose vulnerability. Stallone's response was measured, his voice low but carrying unmistakable weight. "Words can build or destroy," he said slowly, eyes fixed on his opponent. "But empty talk only reveals the size of one's fear." His tone was steady, commanding respect without shouting. "I don't need to prove myself with noise. Let my actions speak louder than your words ever could." The young fighter scoffed, stepping closer with a flash of defiance. "Actions? You're afraid to fight. Just watch how quickly I'll end this." He threw a quick jab towards Stallone, more symbolic than threatening. But Stallone didn't flinch. Instead, he raised a single finger, a subtle gesture that seemed to silence not only the fighter but the entire crowd. "True strength isn't loud," Stallone continued calmly. "It's controlled. It's patient. It's knowing when to speak and when to wait." The verbal duel left the arena hanging in a charged silence once more. The crowd absorbed the exchange, sensing the depth behind Stallone's words. It was a lesson in humility and confidence, a reminder that power was as much about restraint as it was about force. For the young martial artist, the words were a challenge that cut deeper than any punch. The arena waited, breath held, for the fight to move beyond words into a battle that would settle pride once and for all. The arena seemed to hold its breath as Stallone took a deliberate step forward, closing the distance between himself and the young martial artist. His movement was unhurried yet purposeful, every inch measured with the confidence of a man who had faced countless battles and emerged stronger each time. The crowd's murmurs swelled into a rising chorus of anticipation, eyes fixed on the unfolding moment. Stallone's expression remained calm but resolute, his gaze locked steadily on the fighter before him. There was no rush, no flash of arrogance, just the quiet certainty of a man who knew his own strength. The young martial artist's smirk faltered for the first time, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty as he met Stallone's unwavering stare. With the crowd hanging on every movement, Stallone shifted his stance into a balanced position, feet grounded firmly on the mat. The air between them grew charged, tension crackling like static as both fighters prepared for the next exchange. Stallone's body language spoke volumes. This was no mere performance, but a serious confrontation where skill and respect would be tested. The young martial artist bounced lightly on the balls of his feet, trying to mask his unease with a quick jab thrown in Stallone's direction. But Stallone didn't flinch or retreat. Instead, he absorbed the strike with steady composure, his eyes never wavering. The crowd erupted into cheers, the energy surging as the moment finally tipped from words to action. Cameras flashed, capturing every detail, the set jaw, the focused eyes, the tense muscles. Stallone's step forward was more than physical movement. It was a symbolic crossing of a threshold, a statement that the legend was fully engaged and ready to prove his mettle. For the young martial artist, the challenge had suddenly become real. No longer a battle of words or bravado, but a test of skill, heart, and endurance. The arena knew this was the moment the fight truly began. The atmosphere thickened instantly as Stallone and the young martial artist stood face to face, mere feet apart. Every spectator felt the weight of the moment, the tension so dense it seemed to press down on the entire arena. Conversations ceased, cameras paused, and even the restless shifting of feet quieted as if the world itself was holding its breath. The young fighter's eyes darted nervously, trying to mask his rising unease behind a forced grin. His usual confidence was replaced by a flicker of doubt as he met Stallone's unblinking gaze, steady and unwavering. The crowd sensed the shift. The energy that once belonged to arrogance was now overshadowed by the sheer gravity of Stallone's presence. Stallone's breathing was controlled, his stance firm but relaxed, a picture of focus and readiness. His muscles were coiled like a predator poised to strike, but his demeanor remained calm, almost serene. There was no haste, no desperation, only the quiet power of a man prepared for whatever was to come. Between them, the air crackled with anticipation. Every second stretched longer, as if the universe had slowed time to allow the significance of this encounter to sink in. The young martial artist twitched, throwing a tentative feint, testing Stallone's reaction. Stallone responded with subtle ease, barely moving but sending a clear message. He was not rattled. The crowd was electric, voices rising and falling like waves. Yet beneath the noise lay a shared understanding that this was a pivotal moment. It wasn't just a fight. It was a proving ground for pride, skill, and respect. Eyes locked, muscles tensed, the two warriors readied themselves for the inevitable clash. The tension in the air was palpable, a silent drumbeat echoing through the arena, signaling the beginning of a battle that would be remembered long after the final bell. The young martial artist steadied himself, inhaling deeply as he attempted to reclaim the confidence that had carried him this far. His chest rose proudly, his gaze sharpened, and the faintest hint of a smirk returned to his lips. Though the weight of Stallone's presence pressed heavily, he refused to show weakness. This was his moment, to prove that skill, youth, and bravado could outmatch even the most seasoned legend. He bounced lightly on the balls of his feet, the energy of the crowd fueling his determination. Every movement was deliberate, designed to project strength and control. His hands rose in a defensive stance, fingers curled tightly, eyes flashing with fierce intent. He radiated the bravado of a rising star who believed the world was his to conquer. With a quick nod to the crowd, he launched into a series of sharp jabs and spinning kicks. Moves he had practiced countless times, perfected in training, meant to overwhelm and intimidate. Each strike was delivered with precision and speed, designed to assert dominance early in the fight. His confidence seemed unshakable, a force that pulsed through every muscle. Yet beneath the outward show, a subtle tension lingered. His eyes occasionally flickered to Stallone, searching for a crack in the calm exterior that might offer an opening. But Stallone remained a fortress of composure, unmoved and unreadable. The crowd responded to the martial artist's display with a mix of cheers and gasps, caught between admiration for his daring and concern for the legend's quiet resilience. His confidence was infectious, rallying fans who believed in the thrill of youth-challenging experience. But as the flurry of strikes continued, it became clear that confidence alone would not be enough. The young martial artist's energy was impressive, but Stallone's patience and mastery waited silently, ready to turn that confidence into vulnerability. The fight was far from decided, and the young man's pride hung precariously in the balance. Behind Stallone's calm exterior lay a lifetime of battles, many unseen by the crowd but etched deeply into his muscles and mind. His journey wasn't just one of fame and fortune. It was forged in sweat-drenched gyms, bruising sparring sessions, and nights spent pushing beyond limits others thought impossible. The public saw the actor, the legend, but few knew the man who had lived the discipline of a true fighter. Years before the spotlight, Stallone had trained relentlessly, enduring pain and setbacks that would have broken lesser men. He learned to read opponents not just by their movements, but by their spirit and intent. Every scar, every bruise told a story of struggle and survival. Those experiences had shaped a fighter who didn't need to boast or roar. His power was rooted in history and hard-won wisdom. As the young martial artist launched his rapid attacks, Stallone's mind sifted through memories of past fights, each a lesson in patience and control. He recalled moments when brute strength failed and only strategy and calm prevailed. Those lessons were invisible to the crowd, but they manifested in every subtle shift of Stallone's stance, every measured breath. The martial artist's speed and flair could impress the untrained eye, but Stallone recognized the telltale signs of overconfidence, the gaps where impatience threatened to expose weakness. His own past had been filled with opponents who underestimated him, but those mistakes were long behind. Tonight, his unseen past was his greatest weapon. Behind the steady gaze and controlled movements was a lifetime of preparation, silent, unseen, but unmistakable. It wasn't the flashiest skill or the loudest challenge that defined Stallone. It was the countless hours, the endless discipline, and the resolve forged in shadows. As the fight continued, Stallone carried that legacy with quiet pride. The crowd might see only the present moment, but beneath the surface was a story of endurance and mastery, a past that no mockery or taunt could erase. The legend wasn't just surviving. He was ready to remind the world why he was revered. The referee's voice cut sharply through the charged silence, signaling the official start of the fight. "Begin!" The command echoed around the arena, snapping both fighters into action. The young martial artist surged forward instantly, unleashing a torrent of rapid strikes designed to overwhelm before Stallone could fully settle. The crowd erupted, caught between excitement and tension as the battle unfolded in real time. Cameras zoomed in on every movement, the quick jabs, spinning kicks, and deft dodges that marked the early exchanges. The young fighter's aggression was palpable, his confidence fueling each attack, his youth pushing him to test the limits. Stallone, however, remained measured. His body flowed with practiced precision, parrying blows with calm efficiency and slipping through the flurry like water weaving around obstacles. The years of discipline shone through every block and counter, his movements economical yet powerful. He didn't waste energy matching aggression with aggression. Instead, he waited for the moment to turn the tide. The young martial artist's strikes grew faster, more desperate, as Stallone's calm resilience refused to falter. The crowd's cheers mixed with gasps, the energy oscillating between hope and disbelief. It was clear this was no ordinary contest. The fighter's brashness against the legend's patience made every second unpredictable. With a swift, calculated motion, Stallone countered a sharp jab to the ribs that momentarily stunned his opponent. The impact wasn't brutal, but it carried weight beyond physical force. It was a statement. The fight was far from over, and Stallone was fully engaged. As the referee watched closely, ready to intervene if needed, the arena held its collective breath. The fight had officially begun, but the story behind it was unfolding in every subtle exchange, every guarded stance, every silent calculation. This was more than a contest of skill. It was a test of heart, endurance, and respect. The call to fight had been made, and both men were ready to prove themselves in the ring where legends are forged and pride is earned. The fight quickly settled into a rhythm that tested every ounce of skill and endurance each fighter possessed. The young martial artist pressed forward aggressively, launching swift combinations of punches and kicks designed to break Stallone's defense. His movements were fluid, practiced, and confident, the result of years honing his technique and trusting his youthful reflexes. Stallone, however, matched each strike with measured precision. His blocks were not merely defensive but strategic, redirecting energy with subtle shifts of his body. Every counter was calculated, every step deliberate. He wasn't trying to overpower, but to outthink and outlast, turning the fight into a chess match of motion and timing. The crowd watched in rapt silence as the two men exchanged blows and counters with seamless grace. The young fighter's speed was impressive, but Stallone's experience allowed him to anticipate attacks moments before they fully developed. He exploited tiny openings, delivering sharp, controlled strikes that disrupted the martial artist's rhythm without unnecessary force. Sweat glistened on both warriors as the intensity escalated. The young fighter's breath came faster, his attacks growing more forceful but less precise. Stallone's breathing remained steady, his composure unbroken. It was a testament to endurance and mental discipline, qualities cultivated over decades. Each exchange revealed more than physical prowess. It showed character. The young fighter's determination to prove himself clashed with Stallone's calm resolve to teach a lesson through skill and respect. Neither wasted movement, neither rushed needlessly. As the rounds progressed, the arena was filled with a reverent hush. Fans sensed that what they witnessed was a true test of mastery, where raw power met refined technique. Stallone's quiet control began to shift the momentum subtly, peeling away the martial artist's bravado like layers of an onion. This was more than a fight. It was a proving ground, a battle where skill was the ultimate currency, and every move was a deliberate statement. The test was far from over, but one thing was clear. True mastery demanded more than speed or strength. It required patience, precision, and heart. The moment crackled with electric anticipation as the first meaningful exchange unfolded between Stallone and the young martial artist. After a tense build-up of probing strikes and cautious defenses, Stallone seized the opportunity, a brief opening in the younger fighter's guard that had been patiently observed. With swift precision, he delivered a sharp jab to the martial artist's ribs, a calculated strike meant to disrupt rather than devastate. The impact was immediate. The young fighter's breath hitched, his body briefly stiffening from the unexpected contact. His eyes widened in surprise, betraying a flicker of doubt as the crowd gasped collectively. It was the first clear sign that Stallone was not just enduring, but actively turning the tide of the fight. The martial artist quickly recovered, shaking off the sting and responding with a rapid counterattack. His fists and feet moved with renewed aggression, aiming to regain momentum. But Stallone's defense tightened, his stance solidified, blocking and redirecting blows with the calm efficiency of a seasoned veteran. The crowd leaned forward, caught in the thrilling balance of offense and defense. Every movement mattered, the subtle shifts of weight, the timing of blocks, the brief flashes of vulnerability. This was no longer a one-sided display. It was a real contest where skill and strategy intertwined. The young fighter's face flushed with exertion and frustration. He threw a spinning kick that narrowly missed Stallone's head, who smoothly ducked and countered with a swift elbow strike to the shoulder. The exchange was brief but intense, a dance of precision and power that sent ripples through the audience. Both fighters stepped back momentarily, eyes locked, muscles tensed, breathing heavy but controlled. The first exchange had spoken volumes. Stallone's measured skill had met the martial artist's youthful fervor and held firm. It was a message clear to all. This fight was far from over, and the true battle had only just begun. Stallone's strikes came with a quiet authority that spoke of years spent mastering every nuance of combat. Each punch and elbow was precise, delivered with intent rather than force, aiming to dismantle the young martial artist's rhythm bit by bit. He moved with the grace of a man who had fought countless battles, his attacks surgical, targeting vulnerable spots, exploiting every opening with calculated efficiency. The crowd watched in awe as Stallone's precision began to tell. A well-placed jab snapped the martial artist's head back. A swift elbow grazed his ribs. A sharp counterstrike found its mark on his shoulder. These were not wild swings, but deliberate, measured blows designed to weaken and control rather than to overpower outright. The young fighter's confidence wavered as Stallone's methodical strikes chipped away at his defenses. His attacks grew less coordinated, his movements slower and more tentative. Stallone's breathing remained steady, his stance unshaken, a stark contrast to the increasing desperation in his opponent's eyes. With each strike, Stallone sent a clear message. Mastery was about precision and control, not brute strength or reckless aggression. His timing was impeccable, waiting just long enough to draw the martial artist in before delivering a clean, effective hit. The fight transformed from a chaotic barrage into a disciplined contest of skill. The audience felt the shift too. The energy in the arena moved from excitement to reverence. Fans who had cheered the martial artist's flashy style now applauded Stallone's quiet dominance. It was a masterclass unfolding before their eyes, a reminder that true fighters knew when to strike and how to conserve energy. As the round progressed, Stallone's precision strikes accumulated like silent thunder, gradually breaking down the younger man's will. Each hit was a lesson in discipline, a demonstration that power wielded wisely was far more devastating than raw force. The legend was proving, once again, that experience and skill could outmatch youthful bravado every time. The crowd's reaction was immediate and electric. Shock rippled through the stands like a sudden thunderclap. Many had come expecting a show of flashy moves and youthful bravado, but what they witnessed was something far more profound. Stallone's quiet mastery dismantling the young martial artist with calm precision defied all expectations. Gasps and murmurs spread like wildfire as the martial artist stumbled under the steady barrage of precise strikes. Faces once filled with confident cheers now turned to expressions of disbelief and concern. Some fans clutched the edge of their seats, eyes wide, struggling to reconcile the relentless control Stallone exhibited with the fierce challenge they had anticipated. The young fighter's usual swagger was gone, replaced by a growing desperation that the crowd could feel radiating from the ring. Each strike landed with unmistakable authority, chipping away at not only his defenses but his spirit. The contrast between the two fighters became starkly clear. Youthful arrogance against seasoned discipline. Phones and cameras raised to capture every moment suddenly wavered, as if the audience themselves were caught off guard by the unfolding reality. Social media feeds buzzed instantly, spectators sharing clips and reactions, the shock spreading beyond the arena walls. Comments flooded in, praising Stallone's unexpected display of skill and composure. The commentators' voices rose in excitement and awe, struggling to keep pace with the shifting momentum. Unbelievable precision. One exclaimed, Stallone is showing the world that true mastery is about control, not chaos. The crowd shock was mirrored in their words, a recognition that this was more than a fight. It was a statement. In that charged atmosphere, the arena transformed. What began as a spectacle of bravado had become a lesson in humility and respect. The crowd's shock wasn't just surprise, it was reverence. They witnessed a legend quietly reclaiming his place, reminding everyone that true greatness endures beyond youth and flash, rooted in skill, patience, and heart. The tide of the fight shifted unmistakably as the turning point arrived with quiet inevitability. Stallone's steady precision had worn down the young martial artist's defenses, and now, the momentum swung decisively in the legend's favor. The crowd, sensing the change, leaned forward collectively, breaths held as if witnessing the climax of a long-awaited story. The young fighter, once brimming with confidence and swagger, now moved hesitantly. His strikes, which had been sharp and purposeful, became fragmented and rushed, betraying the growing fatigue and doubt creeping into his mind. Stallone's counters, still measured but increasingly assertive, found their marks more easily, peeling away layers of bravado with each hit. A sudden, sharp jab snapped the martial artist's head to the side, the impact echoing through the arena like a wake-up call. For a brief moment, his eyes faltered, the realization settling in that Stallone was not just enduring. He was dominating. The crowd erupted in a mix of gasps and cheers, the energy surging like a wave ready to break. Seizing the moment, Stallone pressed forward with a series of crisp, calculated strikes. Each punch and kick was executed with flawless timing, designed to exploit the openings left by the younger fighter's faltering defense. The martial artist tried to regroup, but Stallone's relentless precision left little room for recovery. The atmosphere thickened as the turning point crystallized. It was more than a physical shift. It was a battle of wills where experience overpowered youthful recklessness. The crowd sensed the inevitable, the end drawing near, yet they remained transfixed, caught between awe and anticipation. As Stallone landed a clean right hook that staggered the young fighter, the arena exploded in cheers. The legend's quiet control had transformed the fight's narrative, proving that true strength is earned through patience and skill. The turning point was clear. The battle belonged to Stallone now, and the young martial artist faced the daunting task of reclaiming lost ground against an unwavering force. The young martial artist staggered backward, his breath heavy and uneven as the weight of the fight finally pressed down on him. The once unshakable confidence that had driven him into the ring was now replaced by a dawning realization. He was outmatched. Stallone's precision and calm control had systematically dismantled not just his defenses, but his spirit. For a brief moment, the arena fell into a stunned silence, the crowd collectively holding its breath. The martial artist's eyes, which had once burned with fiery arrogance, now flickered with hesitation and humility. His movements slowed, his attacks became hesitant, lacking the force and focus that had once defined him. Stallone, sensing the shift, maintained his steady stance, allowing the young fighter the space to compose himself, or to face the consequences of his faltering pride. The legend's presence was unwavering, a silent reminder of the experience and discipline that had brought him here. With a trembling jab, the martial artist tried to regain some ground, but Stallone effortlessly sidestepped, countering with a clean strike that sent the younger man stumbling again. The impact was not just physical. It was a humbling blow to his ego, a clear message that talent alone was not enough. The crowd watched as the martial artist lowered his guard momentarily, shoulders slumping in a rare display of vulnerability. Whispers of respect and sympathy mixed with cheers for Stallone's dominance. This was not merely a fight lost. It was a lesson learned in the unforgiving school of mastery. Despite the setback, the young fighter raised his fists once more, a silent promise to endure and improve. But the humbling moment marked a turning point, not just in the fight, but in his journey as a martial artist. It was a reminder that true strength comes from humility, resilience, and the willingness to grow beyond one's limitations. As Stallone observed quietly, the arena held onto the fragile hope that this defeat would forge a stronger spirit, one tempered by respect and the hard-earned wisdom of the ring. A heavy silence settled over the arena as the young martial artist stood, chest heaving, eyes lowered in quiet acknowledgement of the battle's outcome. There were no loud declarations, no dramatic gestures, only a profound moment of respect earned in the stillness between them. Stallone remained composed, his gaze steady but free of triumphalism, embodying the dignity of a true master. The crowd, sensing the unspoken exchange, responded with a wave of appreciation that transcended cheers or applause. This was a deeper victory, one of character and honor, witnessed in the calm aftermath of combat. Fans who had come to see bravado now recognized the power of humility and restraint. The martial artist stepped forward slowly, extending a hand toward Stallone, not with the swagger of before, but with genuine respect. Stallone took the gesture without hesitation, their handshake firm and sincere. It was a silent pact between warriors, an acknowledgement that skill alone was not enough without heart and humility. As the arena lights dimmed slightly, the two fighters shared a brief nod, a mutual recognition of the journey each had endured to reach this moment. Stallone's quiet demeanor spoke volumes. Greatness was not proclaimed in loud words or flashy displays, but in the ability to remain grounded, even in victory. The young martial artist's transformation was evident. His earlier arrogance had been tempered by the experience, and in that humility lay the promise of growth. The respect earned in silence was the true prize, far more valuable than any trophy or title. Spectators erupted into applause, not just for the fight, but for the spirit that had been revealed. The lesson was clear. In the world of true fighters, respect is earned quietly, consistently, and without spectacle. As Stallone walked away from the ring, the crowd's admiration followed, not just for the legend who had stood undefeated, but for the grace that comes from winning with humility and teaching through silence. The fight had ended, but its impact lingered long after the final bell. In the quiet that followed, both fighters and spectators alike were left reflecting on lessons that reached far beyond the ring. It was clear this encounter wasn't just a contest of physical strength or skill. It was a profound lesson in discipline, respect, and the true meaning of mastery. Stallone, with his composed demeanor, embodied years of wisdom earned through struggle and perseverance. His performance was a testament to the power of patience, restraint, and inner strength, qualities that transcend fighting and resonate in every aspect of life. He showed that victory is not only measured by knockout punches, but by the grace with which one carries oneself in both triumph and defeat. For the young martial artist, the fight was a pivotal moment of growth. Beyond the bruises and exhaustion, he had learned humility and the importance of respect, both for oneself and for one's opponent. It was a reminder that confidence must be balanced with self-awareness, and that true greatness requires continuous learning and adaptation. The crowd carried those lessons too, moved by the display of skill and spirit. They had witnessed the contrast between youthful bravado and seasoned mastery, and understood that real strength is as much about character as it is about physical ability. The energy in the arena shifted from excitement to thoughtful appreciation, a collective recognition that fighting, in its purest form, is a metaphor for life's challenges. Conversations buzzed not about who had won or lost, but about the values illuminated through the fight: perseverance, respect, patience, and humility. The experience transcended sport, leaving a lasting impression on all who watched. As Stallone left the ring, his legacy reaffirmed, and the young fighter began his journey of renewal. The lessons of that night echoed far beyond the cage. They served as a powerful reminder that the greatest battles are often fought within, and that true victory lies in growth, respect, and the courage to keep moving forward. The arena lights dimmed subtly as the final moments of the event unfolded. Sylvester Stallone stood quietly at the center of the ring, the hum of the crowd still resonating with awe and respect. There was no grand celebration, no loud proclamations, only a calm presence that commanded more power than any boast or cheer. His expression was composed, a soft nod acknowledging the journey that had just concluded. Without rushing, Stallone adjusted his jacket and began to walk toward the exit, his footsteps steady and measured. Cameras followed, capturing every moment of the legend's departure, not with spectacle, but with reverence. The crowd's applause swelled, not just for the victory in the ring, but for the grace and humility with which it was earned. Fans rose from their seats, some cheering softly, others simply watching in quiet admiration. The energy was different now, less frantic, more reflective, a shared understanding that they had witnessed something rare and authentic. Stallone's legacy wasn't just about fights won or roles played. It was about the dignity and strength carried with quiet confidence. As he passed through the corridor, Stallone's gaze briefly met the young martial artist's, a silent exchange filled with respect and unspoken lessons. No words were needed. The fight had spoken for them both. The young fighter, still catching his breath, watched as the legend disappeared from view, carrying with him a reminder of what it meant to be truly great. Back in the arena, the echoes of the night lingered, footsteps fading, but the impact enduring. The legend's quiet departure was a final testament to the power of humility and mastery. It wasn't the loudest moment that would be remembered, but the one filled with grace. As the lights dimmed further and the crowd slowly dispersed. The story settled into memory, an enduring chapter in the history of the ring, where true greatness is measured not by noise, but by silent strength and unwavering respect.